Welcome back to Hermetically Speaking. I am your vessel, Toria, transmitting hermetic frequency for all of our days. This is episode 9, After the Storm, Navigating the Stillness of Healing. There's something strange that happens in healing. We chase peace like it's the finish line. When it finally comes, it can feel unsettling. Stillness, for many of us, doesn't feel safe at first. It feels hollow, too quiet, too unfamiliar. Because after a lifetime of fight, flight, freeze, or the newest one, fawn, our nervous system gets addicted to chaos, addicted to suffering, addicted to pain. Stillness is what we think we're striving for. Peace, calm, safety. And yet, once the storm passes, once the high alert fades, many of us feel more anxious in the calm than we ever did in the chaos. This episode is for the part of you that doesn't know what to do when everything gets quiet. For the part of you that keeps reaching for the chaos because it's what you've known. For the version of you that's learning peace isn't boring. It's just unfamiliar. So why is stillness so triggering? When your system is used to alarm bells, silence can sound like danger. Let's be honest. Chaos can feel weirdly comforting when it's all we've known. Therefore, we either tend to not hear, overlook, or the alarm bells no longer exist when chaos is afoot. It's the silence and the sitting with the self that the sirens riddle our body in different forms of anxiety, fight, flight, freeze, and even fawn. Like a familiar song, even if it's dissonant and sharp, chaos continues its attempt to sing on in our vibration. So when the storm clears and peace tiptoes in, the body can then respond with anxiety, irritability, even grief. Why? Because that heightened survival state gave you something to do. It kept you sharp, alert. In some ways, it even fed the societal paradigms of the worker bee mentality, supporting it, weaving its life through it, making it more excusable to work ourselves to death in every direction. And now, there's just space. Space trying to come in and fill you whole. And this space can feel like loss. You may even notice yourself feeling more anxious in calm than you ever did during the actual storm. That's because your nervous system isn't broken. It's just adjusting. It doesn't yet recognize peace as safe. Stillness after chronic trauma can feel threatening. The body has adapted to scanning for danger, constantly solving problems, always doing. When there's nothing to fix, the nervous system doesn't know how to just be. So here we are. We're going to explore how trauma survivors often mistake peace for danger, because it lacks the familiar adrenaline of fight or flight, and because healing isn't always relaxing at first. It can be confusing and disorienting. A quote to hold the space: "The nervous system's silence can sound louder than the noise we survived." Hermetically speaking. For myself, I first started to notice I struggled to sit with myself in stillness about 5 years ago. I made it through the storm of psychosis and even I had a sacred siddhi phase where the stillness was me and I was the stillness, and it was beautiful. And for a while there, I kept trying to get back to it. And then I realized I had to go through this to get to another stage of it. So as I started to return to quote unquote normal, reintegrating back into society, relationships, routine, a strange thing happened. I could not sit at home with myself. Even after just accomplishing going from homelessness to purchasing my first ever home in roughly 2 years, I couldn't do it. I couldn't, after the Siddhic state ended, I could not enjoy myself, my home, my space within and around me. I had to accept that I had reached some level of mastery, accomplishing the psychosis, and then bridging into getting to live a life within society outside of the psychosis. It doesn't mean you have to have psychosis to understand what I'm saying. Any type of trauma, any type of healing, when we start to come out of it and we reintegrate ourselves back into society with new understandings, heightened awareness, and new behaviors, it's a major accomplishment. You know, that is mastery. You have mastered a level and you have proceeded on to the next. It's like I mastered a level of codependency, recovery from codependency and recovery from addiction and all of these, and PTSD and domestic violence and all of these different experiences. However, that mastery was in knowledge and awareness and understanding and reprogramming. Well, then you level up and you got to integrate back into society to where you stay steadfast in that reprogramming of the mind, in that neuroplasticity. So here I was entering into a romantic relationship, potentially at the time, and it did turn out to be so. And I had a career change and life just really started coming at me, and the PTSD and the psychosis and all of these other things that were at the forefront of my survival were no longer there to keep me distracted or keep me consumed from this integration into society of living in some contrast of normal. I always used to say, who wants to be normal? But now I understand, like, I'm stepping more into that. And normalcy for me is no longer a negative concept. And again, that's a shift into the integration of society and not fearing people, places, and things any longer. However, in doing this, I did have those fears. And I avoided simple things like cleaning, organizing, grounding routines that would have brought me peace. My programming was way too hardwired at the time. Now, I understood that I was not sitting with myself and that that's what was making me run from myself. However, I had to go through those stages of awareness to really begin to implement and call in the desire of change, and that takes time. So, in the midst of that, I created, destruction within myself. This is a different form of destruction because before, in trauma, you know, I just mentioned that we would discuss mistaking peace for danger because it lacks the familiar adrenaline of fight or flight. Um, and I did that numerous times in really, really detrimental ways to my sanity, to my health, to my safety. And now it transitioned into like a moderate, low to moderate. Instead of doing things that were putting my life at risk on a regular basis, I, moved into less I don't want on the polarity level, it would be less destructive in my experience. For others, it might be the top of their destruction, right? Massive credit card debt. Because I kept moving. I just consumed myself with consumerism. And that's, part of the paradigm that society is built around. And I succumbed to it because my mental capacity was at a weak threshold, right? Like weak in strength, polarity. And it doesn't mean that I was weak by any means. It just meant that I needed to build up the neural pathways in my brain to be stronger in the way that was truly aligned with me and the way that my blueprint honors me in being. And so I fell victim, prey, whatever we want to call it, to consumerism because I am me and they are, and I am me and I am them. And so I can't blame anybody but me because the experience taught me how to break those confines in my mind and become independent of these exercises that I used to escape. And so again, I, kept moving, errands, shopping sprees, drive-through visits, Netflix binges, anything to avoid the quiet, anything to avoid myself. And I had lived with myself prior in my own townhouse, and I absolutely adored it and I loved it. And I would sit at home and I would watch movies and I would be good in the stillness because I was used to the chaos of the PTSD and the psychosis in my mind. It brought me comfort. And since I didn't have that anymore, it was very hard for me to adjust. And so again, the chaos was pretty much gone in my mind. So instead, I decided to nourish myself by creating more chaos outside of me and again, within me. Not as severe, always leveling up, which means also kind of decreasing in extremes. So, you have that paradox and that parallel, and even paradigm, I guess. So my eating patterns of disordered eating arose again. I struggled to sleep again, not near as bad as the years before. Same with the eating disorder. Like I said, everything became more moderate than extreme. But however, there were still parts of the spirals that needed to be transcended. And so still on the surface, my life looked better than ever, but I could feel the torment inside of me. And it was awful. And, my sponsor, who is one of my closest friends, and other people that have been in different forms of recovery, no matter what it's been of, I use recovery in a very broad term, because that's what we're all doing, right? We're all on a spiritual journey, recovering from something, multiple things, really. And I could just remember, to a lot of people, my problems at this time didn't seem like a big deal. I had just bought a house. I had credit cards to put things on that I wanted, that I needed. My bills were always paid on time. My house was comforting. I live in a good neighborhood. I was nourished. I had a good job. Everything on the surface looked really, really good. And so my problems internally could not be identified with by a lot of other people at the time. Because in recovery, especially from recovery from alcoholism or drug addiction, when you come in being homeless, and having lost everything and having to rebuild your life, sometimes you plateau. I've seen people do it, and there's nothing wrong with it, because if you're wherever we find comfort is a joyous thing. However, I could not find comfort in my behavior because my heightened awareness on this daggone spiritual journey that I am so daggone blessed for. So gotta stay in gratitude, right? So, like I said, on the surface, my life looked better than ever, and I really couldn't communicate well the hardship and the despair that was going on internally, because I hadn't really connected with anybody that identified with it at the time. So I started trying to find ways and people that maybe could identify with these new pains that I had been experiencing. One's around money, one's around body dysmorphia. I had reprogrammed disorders that once defined me previously. However, these residues still remained. I will always and forever say, like, addiction, homelessness, those things, they are the symptom of the dis-ease that is unavoidable. It's in everybody's face. It's like punching people in the face. It's like saying, like, this person has a problem. But it takes years to get there. So imagine all of the other symptoms that people ignored and that we shoved down and hid and avoided. And so these were what were coming up. These were the residues still of dis-ease that remained and lived inside of me. They became whispers. Old programs, they no longer screamed at people, so people would scream at me. Instead, now they just became these whispers inside of me that nobody else could really hear but me, and they still tormented me because I wanted to do better. The awareness, having this daggone alchemical awareness, is one of the most beautiful things in the world. However, it's also like, damn. So in those whispers, they didn't become monumental breakdowns anymore. They became more of subtle self-abandonments, not as crises, as discomfort and peace. It's these whispers that I believe we tend to overlook. This is kind of what society has built on, right? Like the whispers that these things aren't okay, but everything is functioning and everything looks okay on the surface, so don't look under the rug. Sidestep it. Ignore or avoid even. When the problem is glaring us in the face, like addiction and homelessness or bankruptcy or abuse, then it becomes unavoidable. There are many that have become accustomed to living their entire lives like that. And same with any tier. Our souls can be programmed to become, depending on what our blueprints are, or really the consciousness of the earth. There are so many things to take into play here. When I think about how the different tiers throughout the different stages of consciousness and life and development and society, how people get on different ones and they stay on certain ones for the rest of their lives. I can't do that. You can't do that, because that's why you're here, right? Like, that's why you found this. We resonate. And I'm grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that, because that shows me that everything that I have been through is in turn rewarding in the form of healing and activating and helping others. So the whispers after the extremes, to settle into them would still be devastating to me, to my system. This journey of awareness leaves no stone unturned. So even these whispers become loud and uncomfortable, just like the addiction to drugs and the homeless nights. But again, I can hear my screams now. It's not external or people screaming at me. And I just really want to step into a moment of sacred awareness to really anchor in gratitude for the consciousness streaming through us, allowing us to find ourselves in this moment. The pain of awareness can be great. However, the freedom from it is greater. For that, we together in this moment grant gratitude in abundance here on this day in this time together. And as we hold in this gratitude, we begin to address the hardship of what this journey requires of us. The hardship of sabotaging the calm we seek. You ever find yourself doing well and then suddenly things feel off? You pick a fight. You abandon the habit that was helping. You overwork, overeat, overspend, or isolate completely. You interrupt the calm before it can fully settle because the fear is so very real. That's self-sabotage. However, let's call it what it really is. A subconscious threshold. Your system hits a limit because the peace you've reached doesn't match the pain you once identified with. Right? The pendulum swings to even ends. However, it's like the transitional pendulum from extreme pain, which is different for all of us, but it doesn't negate that a paper cut to a broken arm aren't both two different people's extremes, and we have to honor that. But one extreme into the stillness, it's like the pendulum is being dragged through the murky mud on the way back. Because all this time has passed that we've been in the chaos and in the pain, that we forget how long it took us to get where we are now, and we forget how much suffering we actually went through and how long we endured it for. So your system hits a limit because the peace you've reached is not equal to. It's not like it's not equal on the other side of the pendulum. And so it swings back into the chaos. It doesn't feel like you. Chaos still feels like you. Not because you're weak, not because you're doing anything wrong, because your body and identity haven't yet reoriented around stillness. You're not addicted to suffering. You're loyal to familiarity. And sometimes we'd rather shatter the silence than hear the echoes of our own becoming. Those echoes are grand when we allow them. And forcing them, of course, puts us out of alignment in a lot of regards. So it's allowing them to be when they can be. However, I see each one of you listening, and I know the echoes of your becoming are beautiful. So we all find ourselves doing well. Then out of nowhere, we disrupt it. Not failure. It's a threshold. It's an indication that you are touching the edge of a new calibration, and old patterns are rising to test it. What I came to visualize when I was putting this podcast together was, the concept of the spiral is very well known. This, for me, and I've heard the concept of a spiral staircase. However, TIERS, TIERS, keeps coming back to me. And so therefore, I really had to implement and understand that this visual for me, this analogy, is one where it's a tiered journey with a spiral going up and the spiral going down, and no direction is wrong or bad or negative or necessarily better than the other, because we need both directions to be able to ascend to where we are going. So going backwards is not regression, it's refinement. And because success was and is always mine and yours, since entering into this journey, it feels proper to enunciate the tiers in the visual, because with each step up or down, it basically feels like time can be slow or fast in progression. And each and every direction and pace is progression, no matter what your fear or heightened emotions may tell you. 2 steps forwards and 5 steps back, that's progression. Because eventually you're going to take six steps forward and 2 steps back. It's always progression. And that spiral and those loops and everything that we're doing, it's always progression. You are doing it. You are showing up for yourself. The addictions, thievery, extremes of my own past had been transmuted. However, again, the chaos was being created in my mind through the dysmorphia, the food struggles, anxiety in social settings. And I had actually written originally the fear of people, places, and things. However, when I was discussing this and kind of dissecting my thoughts, it turned into, it was offered that it was a gripping fear of peace itself. And that resonates with me. And going through these again, they weren't failures, although they certainly felt like it at times. That's part of the programming, right? To try to suck us in. Failure is an illusion. Always remember that. These resin, what did we say they were, like resins coming? I can't even remember the word now. Oh my gosh, I don't think I'm supposed to go backwards. But the pieces that were still left over, that were now attacking my soul in a way that, to attack, they wanted to be seen. They were coming up to me to show me that this was the next stage of my healing. They were the flickers of old coding still lingering, no longer punching me in the face, although it did feel like it at times, and instead they rather tugged at my energy like these persistent ticks that drove me insane. And so what I've come to learn is that they were teachers. They were awakeners. They brought me knowledge, and they were healing pathways that I needed to walk. I learned that fire is brilliant. It can fuel the chaos, or it can be the sacred flame of transmutation. And of course, we can't speak of fire without speaking of what feeds it and what quiets it. What feeds the fire are the emotions within us, the ones that are from the chaos, invoking chaos, creating more chaos. That is the air. The air element creates the emotions, according to the Kabbalah. So the air is the emotion, the wind of thought, the breath of old belief systems, the current of stories we inhale without knowing. Air creates the pressure, the rumination, the inner dialogue that either stokes the fire of destruction or invites the fire to become a ritual of release. If your mind has been racing, if your thoughts feel too big, too fast, you're not broken. You are breathing in old scripts, and your fire is just trying to keep up. Then there's water. Water doesn't fight fire, it quenches, it cools. It teaches the fire how to feel again. Water is your tears, your stillness, your surrender. It's the softness that comes when you finally say, I don't need to fix this. I just need to feel it. Water refines the ash left by the fire, turns it to fertile soil, and allows your nervous system to flow again, like a stream finding its path home. This is alchemy. Air brings awareness, fire transforms, water soothes and integrates, and of course, earth is the grounding element. We are each of these elements every day in every breath. And when we stop resisting one, we begin to embody all of them as sacred tools. Each of us must choose consciously how to use it. When the mantis frequency stepped in, they reminded me that discomfort and peace is not an error. It is data. It is code being restructured. And the Ascended Masters have shown me true healing does not mean the absence of triggers. It means the ability to see them and alchemize. So how do we begin to understand that peace is stronger than chaos, stronger than control, stronger than the ego's need to be right, stronger than the mind's habit of defending its old identity? How do we begin to show our nervous system that peace isn't passivity, it's power? That this truth, this shift, is not only accurate, it is the highest vibration available to us as sovereign beings. It is the frequency that will finally let us live the lives we keep dreaming about, not just surviving them. Surviving is the way of the past, and we are stepping into the future. We are getting rid of the lessons that strength equals pain, strength equals endurance, strength equals dominance, because true strength is the stillness that doesn't need to control. What if the strongest thing you can do is lay down the sword and pick up the soil? How do we assist in chaos's end? How do we hold space for the death of a finite limiting program? We transmute it. Because make no mistake, this programming is not neutral. It is destructive. It sabotages society. It dismantles humanity from within. And so we must rebuild. Not through noise, through grounded presence. This is the work of Earth. Earth is our stabilizer. The root system, the place where the ashes of chaos are composted into new life. Earth holds the blueprint of who you've always been. Beneath the stories, the trauma, the armor. And now it asks you, who are you when you are no longer surviving? That is the fear we must learn to meet with faith. Because the fear of who we might become in peace can paralyze our progress, fuel our procrastination, and trigger deeper disorder and dis-ease within. This is the sacred rebuild. This is where faith becomes the most necessary element of all. So we ask ourselves, who am I without the pain? Who am I without the chaos? Who am I in the stillness? This is the heart of today's episode. When suffering has shaped your story, when pain has been your proof of strength, what do you become when it ends? For many of us, suffering was our compass. It dictated how we loved, how we fought, how we earned our worth. And healing? Healing invites a total reorientation, not just of the nervous system, of your entire identity. You may feel lost, detached. You may grieve a version of yourself you logically know wasn't safe and tries to emotionally still cling to meaning. That's okay, because this is where the true alchemy begins. This is the sacred rebuild. This is where you get to reclaim stillness as your home, not your exile. Redefine rest as sacred, not lazy. Find joy, not as a reward, as your birthright. And maybe for the first time in your life, you get to build a version of you not shaped by pain. Instead, sculpted in presence. You are art. You are the art of the creator, the creatrix. And in that, you are the earth. You are the grounding. You are the sacred space where peace can live. So how do we pivot? How do we reprogram with grace and grit? How do we ascend without floating away? How do we settle into stillness without fleeing from ourselves? For me, it's been a journey, still ongoing, just like it is for you. I'm going on 5 years of learning to sit in stillness after 23 years of pure chaos and destruction. And another 10 from childhood that were filled with a different kind of unrest. The riddled dormancy of subconscious programming is still being dissected. And while those first 10 years of my life could be labeled quote unquote better, they were no less filled with the seeds of misalignment, programming. The friction within me created friction everywhere I went. I now see that for nearly 33 years, I lived within broken programming, a system that moved against my core truths, against my soul blueprint, against everything I am, even when I didn't consciously know what I was. Now I do. Now I remember. And now that remembrance has brought me here, to you, to help in any way I can, so that maybe, just maybe, you can heal fully and wholly too. So the first remembrance I want to offer is this. My rule, doesn't have to be yours, my rule number 1 is grace. For every year I spent surviving, it's a fair assumption that I may need that many years or more to fully recover. I use the word assume gently because this path is not a one-size-fits-all. But for me, This truth allows me to hold grace when I still don't have it all figured out, when I think I should be farther than I am, or that I want to be fully healed and recovered right now. If I'm 66 and still on the healing journey, then hey, I'll definitely have some new lessons that I'll be facing to play with. And I know it'll be a whole new fun journey waiting for me. And I'll still be in the game, dancing with my destiny. So give yourself time, give yourself space, give yourself grace. Spiritual grace is not passive. It is the divine allowance for imperfection, the soft permission to grow at your own rhythm, and the sacred knowing that even your delays serve your destiny. Because there is not another being in existence that has your rhythm. Honor your rhythm. Allow it to be the sacredness that it is. Have confidence in your rhythm. And dance that rhythm like nobody's watching. Or with really great confidence like everybody's watching and you're digging it. So my rule number 2 for me is 1 foot in front of the other. I'm on a spiritual journey, and I already know that I would rather die than turn around and regress. So on the worst days, allow yourself to wallow if you must, rest if you need, and when you feel your strength return, however faint it may be, take the next step. That's all you need to do. Move when you can, be still when you must, and honor both, even if that stillness is chaos still. I won't tell you exactly how to walk your journey. I can tell you what I do on mine and hope that there are some keys and golden nuggets and breadcrumbs and resonance that helps activate you into another portal of your own healing. Because that's what many people have done for me. And they still do. For goodness sakes, I just found someone in December, and then now another course of hers deeply resonates with me. And I'm so excited for it. I strive every day to become the person I needed when I was hurting, the one I never had. This is another rule of mine. I don't know if I would call it a rule, actually. This is a mantra that I've had since I was a child. Like my soul's mission, my soul telling me what I was going to be doing, what I needed to do to heal, was I needed to be for others. That's what it was at first. I wanted to be for others what I never had for myself, so then that way they wouldn't have to endure the pain that I did. That was still, I think, a naive form of my ego. Instead, now, I understand that I need to be for myself what I never had, so I can heal the pain that I experienced. And therefore, that will ripple out in my vibration, and that will change the world. So, another mantra, not really, this one I would not call a rule, I would call it a mantra again, is I will never suggest, I don't really like to ask a lot of others, I guess. I feel like suggesting things and allowing people to figure out what resonates works best. But it used to be I will never ask another to do something that I have not already done or am not willing to do. And so that I still stand firmly by. Anything that I create has been from my experience or something that I am willing to do or have done in some form, some lifetime, whatever it may be. So yeah, I know now that I am everything I've ever needed, inside and out. This was a paradox for me in learning. When I was 12, I took a very sacred oath that it was going to be me, myself, and I for the rest of my life. I was never going to trust anybody outside of me. And I visually built brick walls within my psyche and built it as armor around me. And then as I got older, I refortified those walls with every bit of abuse and pain and things that I had suffered, especially when things were at their worst. And I remember reinforcing it with things like steel. And then when the spiritual explosion happened in my mind, which is a funny way to put it, they used that against me. They had me walk a journey for me, myself, and I. One of trust and of faith. And so over the years, I saw the walls come down because I swung to the other end of the pendulum. And now I'm looking for balance, like we all are. So with every step forward that I take, I find more evidence, more support, more truth that confirms that internal compass that leads me on. Some days are easy, some days are hard. We all know that. The balance between them merges more and more with each passing year. My birthday was yesterday. I turned 38. And I told my partner at dinner, I said, I might be another year older. And I'm prettier, I'm wiser, and my life only gets better. That's what aging's about. Aging is not supposed to be this miserable thing that we go through where we're like not looking forward to it. Our lives are supposed to get better because of these journeys. We have things that other people don't have right now. And instead of judging them or shaming them because of where they are, because the consciousness hasn't been able to filter through, for me, I've just got to, I stay in that gratitude. I've got to. Because it's so valuable. And I am so blessed. So, again, balance. It's not perfection. I've got to remind myself that sometimes. Because in the balance, the pain no longer controls me. Perfection, pain will control me. And the ego no longer builds temples out of my spirituality. Because it can definitely do that. I remember early on in my spiritual journey, I definitely Pollyannaed somebody that I love. And it was a lesson for me to learn. Pollyannaing is when, and I apologize if you can hear my chair in the background. Pollyannaing is whenever you swing too far on one side of your journey. So for me, psychology, mystic psychology, whatever we want to call it, because there are modern psychology elements that definitely helped me on my journey, and spirituality are two sides of the same coin. And so therefore, if you swing too far into one side, you're going to Pollyanna somebody logically, intellectually with, modern day psychology or even mystic psychology if you're really in tune with it and understand it. Or the other side was spirituality. And I did do that. And it was painful. And so I, like I said, my ego had built this temple for me to stand on. So I am very grateful for that lesson. As long ago as it was, it still will always, at least for the time being, stand out. So instead of those things, I just am. I am who I am. I feel, I believe, I see, I speak, I understand, and I love without expectation, without condition, without attachment. And let me tell you, that right there, that's my paradise. I believe that is paradise. Here, now, in this earthly form. So while 66 is sounding more fun by the minute, I also got to remember to stay mindful and in the present and enjoy it while I have it. So my final transmission at this time in this episode is to keep doing you. Keep doing what you're doing. Pivot when you need to. Rest when it calls. Never stop learning. Remain teachable. Never stop staying open. Because we don't really know much of anything at all. I constantly remind myself of that. So I can stay teachable, stay humble, stay wildly honest with myself, and open my mind to all that once seemed impossible. Because the life I have now was impossible at one point in time for me. And the life I had before that, like in this same lifetime, was impossible to the one of, the first 10 years of my life. You would have never known my life was going to go into chaos and destruction and spiral out the way that it did. That was impossible to happen, but it did. And then where I am now was impossible to follow up through from the chaos and destruction, and here I am. Everything that's ever happened to you, no matter how painful, no matter how confusing, has served your becoming. You don't have to force it. You just have to allow it, and it will. The process might carry hardship, yes. The freedom that follows is greater than any of the pain that preceded it. So keep doing you. Keep walking your walk. Keep finding your balance, because your balance is the one that will set you free. Thank you for walking this journey with me today, for being willing to sit in the stillness, to witness your own rebirth, and to honor the sacred rebuild happening within you. If this episode resonated with your heart, know that the work doesn't stop here. We're just getting started. I'm now launching guided meditations, elemental transmissions, and creative offerings every Friday and Monday on my YouTube channel, which you can find under Hermetically Speaking, HERMETICALLY Speaking. Make sure to subscribe and let your nervous system know that these sacred tools are always available when you need them. And stay tuned, because a paired meditation for this episode is coming up here in just a moment, designed to help you anchor into your body, your peace, and your earth frequency as you continue to reprogram the path forward. If you're not in a space to fully meditate, feel free to just listen. Your higher self knows what to do even when you're moving. This meditation will also come out on its own on Friday under the title The Sacred Rebuild, Guided Meditation for Stillness and Balance. And as always, take what serves you, leave what doesn't, and walk your path with honor, because your path is sacred and it's leading you home. I'll see you soon, in stillness, in balance, and in love. Namaste, and many blessings on your way. Welcome to Hermetically Speaking. As you enter this space, allow your breath to soften, your mind to quiet, and your energy to align. This moment is a gateway. What you receive here is encoded, intentional, and meant for your evolution. Let the transmission begin. Welcome, love. You have just traveled through the storm. You have explored the edges of chaos, the residue of programming, and the sacred potential of stillness. This moment right now is your opportunity to let the nervous system rest, to let your soul exhale, and to let your body begin to reorient to peace. So let's begin. Find a comfortable position. Allow your body to be fully supported. Whether seated or lying down. And as you settle, take a deep, gentle breath in through the nose and release slowly through the mouth. Again, inhale and exhale. Feel the weight of your body pressing into the earth. Feel how the earth holds you without judgment, without effort. Let your spine lengthen. Let your shoulders melt. Let your jaw unclench. With each breath, allow your body to relax even more deeply. And in this silence, we will proclaim, I am safe in stillness. I am grounded in who I am becoming. I am safe in stillness. I am grounded in who I am becoming. I am safe in stillness. I am grounded in who I am becoming. Now, gently bring your awareness to the breath, to the gentle rhythm of air moving in and out of your body. This is your clarity, your oxygen, your sacred messenger. Each breath clears the fog. Each breath brings space between thoughts. Each breath reminds you, I do not have to chase or fix or control right now. Let the breath be light, soft, kind, and we begin to whisper to ourselves, my breath is enough. I am enough. My breath is enough. I am enough. My breath is enough. I am enough. Now, imagine a small flame glowing in the center of your chest. This fire is not wild, not chaotic. It's sacred. It burns with purpose. Not pain. With each breath, feel this flame gently growing, not to consume you, but to warm you from within. This fire is the alchemy that transmutes fear into freedom, pain into wisdom. And so now we will silently affirm, my fire transforms. My fire empowers. My fire is mine to direct. My fire transforms. My fire empowers. My fire is mine to direct. My fire transforms. My fire empowers. My fire is mine to direct. Now, feel the presence of water surrounding you, perhaps as a gentle stream flowing around you, or the sensation of soft rain cleansing your field. Let it soothe your mind. Let it soften the sharp edges. Whatever doesn't resist, it moves. It feels. It integrates. Let your emotions be like this water, not problems to solve, but waves to ride. And in our silent whisper, we say, I surrender to the flow. I allow what needs to move through me to move. I surrender to the flow. I allow what needs to move through me to move. I surrender to the flow. I allow what needs to move through me to move. And now, bring your attention back to the earth, back to your body. Notice how the elements have supported you, how your breath is calmer, your thoughts softer. your energy clearer. And now, gently come into this proclamation of reprogramming with me. And silently in your mind's eye, repeat after me. I choose grace over guilt. I choose peace even when it feels unfamiliar. I am allowed to take my time. I trust who I am becoming. I choose grace over guilt. I choose peace even when it feels unfamiliar. I am allowed to take my time. I trust who I am becoming. I choose grace over guilt. I choose peace even when it feels unfamiliar. I am allowed to take my time. I trust who I am becoming. Let those words soak into your nervous system. Let them become your new language. Let them plant roots in your earth. Begin to bring your awareness back to the space around you. Wiggle your fingers and toes gently. Take one more deep breath in and a full breath out. And when you are ready, open your eyes gently, or remain here in stillness for as long as you need. You are safe. You are healing. You are right where you are supposed to be. You are becoming. Thank you for being here, love. Thank you for choosing this moment. May this balance carry you through your next step with grace, curiosity, and truth. Your activation is complete. Trust what continues to unfold. Carry the codes you've received into your breath, your being, and your becoming. If this served your healing, please like and subscribe. And share it with someone whose soul may be quietly asking for a sign, a shift, a softening. May this ripple of remembrance reach all who are ready. Until next time, may your path be lit by inner truth and your steps guided by Source. This is Hermetically Speaking. Namaste and many blessings on your way.